We're live, y'all, a little early today. Game one in the books, moments of greatness, followed by expected periods of mediocrity. You're locked on.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, we got game one in the books, guys. UConn 86, BU 32. It was 60-13 at halftime. I was watching the game kind of quietly on my own to focus on it. And after each quarter, I'd go to my wife and say, "What do you think the first quarter score is? What do you think the second quarter score is?" And she was actually surprisingly pretty close. 60-13 at half was a pretty dominant performance. But as I mentioned in the open, it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows. I think for a first game, some really great positives to take from it. Let's just go step by step. I think there was some opening jitters, but there was some strong ball movement from the team to start. They started 1 for 6 from the floor as a team, 0 for 3 from 3. That changed relatively quickly. They get off to, I think, as much as a 15-0 run. It was 22-2 at one point. UConn forcing turnovers, capitalizing on fast breaks. I thought a couple of highlights in the first quarter was Ice Brady's intensity, Caden Samuel's versatility, showcasing UConn's depth, some really, really quick opportunities on transition. Of course, Paige was fantastic. She really didn't have to do much. I think that's honestly the prevailing theme from the game. If you listen to it, if you watched it, Paige was at ease with being aggressive, but knew that she didn't have to take over the game. Obviously, against Boston University, that could change as time goes on. But the reality is, this is a team now that has a supporting cast for Paige Bueckers. They've had the best player in the country for years. They just haven't had the luck of having the injury bug stay away from UConn in stores in Hartford tonight. Starting lineup was Paige, Sarah Strong. We'll get to her tonight. Thought she was fantastic. Caitlin Chen, thought she was good. I think of all the players, I was a little disappointed in Caitlin, but not because she's a bad player, but because she's a veteran. Then you had Ice Brady and Ashlyn Shade starting game one for the Huskies. Pretty much made some updates during the game, but like I said, early jitters, start off 9-0 run, 13-2 run. Press really affected BU, really attacked them. Jana came in, had some really good opportunities early, even off the bench. I love the fact that she came off the bench. It really kind of allowed her to focus on what she really needed to do, which is, look, she's getting herself into shape. I happened to listen to the radio feed at the end of the game. She did an interview with Bob Joyce at the end of the game and talked about how this is her first game in a year and a half. I thought Jana was fantastic for that. I mean, come on. Year and a half, you haven't played. What did she finish with? Let's go to the notes here. 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 1 block, albeit against not so tough competition, but still. If you did something really well and took a year and a half off, do you think you'd be dominant in it? That just shows me that she is even better as time goes on. Thought some interesting stuff to go with it. Listen, a 28-6 first quarter advantage. I thought there was some really good chemistry between Caitlin and Paige. They trust each other. It looked like there was, some opportunities that they probably could have taken shots, but they gave them up. Caitlin had a few turnovers. Like I said, I think I'm most disappointed in her if I'm going to pick one person, not just because she's a transfer, but because she's an older player. So on one hand, there's that. On the other hand, there's also her ability to be a game changer in transition, finding open players and taking chances. Because listen, players take chances. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, they won by almost 50 points. But what I was looking for was, I knew they're going to win this game. I knew they're going to win this game by a lot. Their physicality is way too much for BU. But I think for me, the idea was I wanted to see some chemistry between Caitlin and Paige, and I saw that. So that was a positive. Sarah Strong. I made it a point to do a lot of my podcast this morning, the recorded one, on Sarah and her development through UConn's recruitment, on her ability that is going to only get better. After a slow shooting start, she's a beast. I think Bob Joyce described her as a very well-built, strong young lady. And I couldn't agree with him more. 17 points in her debut, 6 steals, showing why she's considered a generational talent. Jana El Alfy in her post-game interview was gushing over how Sarah has the ability to find her teammates was really important in this stretch. Jana, again, 12 and 10 or 17 and 10, showing she's more than just a traditional post player. She barely missed a 3 in the fourth quarter. I thought that was going to drop, kind of rimmed out, kind of a classic, in and out 3. She seemed calm. She seemed relaxed, comfortable in her first game, seamless chemistry with her teammates. There were some turnovers. There was some sloppy play in the second half. I felt like the first half was kind of a fever dream of what this team could look like with snipers everywhere between Morgan Shelley hitting threes, Ali Zabal, Ashlyn, Paige, Sarah didn't make a 3 in the first half, I don't believe. But Caitlin Chen, the opportunities are there for this team. And again, I talked about Morgan Shelley before the season even started. I thought she was an impressive player in coming into this team, was a versatile player. She wasn't the heralded player that Ali was in terms of like being a scorer and being that like third, but she's a 6'2" guard. She has a lot of positional versatility and positional size that Gino loves. She also hit some threes, and she had 2 tonight. Really some early offensive dominance by UConn. It just was one of those things where I thought each player, if we look at the box score, let me go to it right now. Hold for me 1 second. Yep. Just think about this. Starters, Paige, Caitlin, Ashlyn, Ice, and Sarah. Sarah led the starters with 17 points. She had 17 points off the bench for Jana El Alfy. Morgan Shelley was 1 for 2 from the floor, hit a 3, also had a block and a couple of rebounds. Ali Zabal hit 2 threes. She's 2 of 3. Remember I said to you she shot 2 of 10 in the exhibition. That was not going to happen again. I was 100% correct. Caden Samuels. Listen, if Q starts playing the way she played for stretches in this game, this UConn team with no AZ Fudd, with no Caroline Ducharme, with no Aubrey Griffin, is going to be a menace in the women's game this year. We haven't even talked about KK Arnold, who had, coming off a little bit of an injury, she kind of took herself a little bit of time to come in. She came off the bench, 5 assists in this game, played very efficient. She was 2 of 2 from the floor, missed a free throw, no big deal. Again, very little turnovers for her. As a team, I'd love to see that turnover number drop. They had 12 turnovers in the game. But all in all, I thought it was a fantastic game for them. I'm going to take a break. If anyone's in the live chat wants to come on the show and talk about it, I'm more than happy to have you jump on. And you don't have to be on audio or video. You can jump on audio. I'm going to drop the link in the comments. No one's made a comment yet, so most people are just sitting quietly and watching, which is totally fine later in the evening. But the link is in the chat. We're going to come back after the break and talk a little more about the freshmen and looking ahead to their next game. Coming up after this. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually preserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. You heard that right. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right, you're back on Locked On UConn Live. Do we have any comments, things to discuss? Yeah, I am I saying your name right, Jazare? I think I think you're 100% right. I think Q has to slow down. I think a lot of these players have to slow down but that's what these first few games are about. If we look ahead to UConn's schedule, there's not a ton of relief. They don't play the BUs of the world. They will play Fairleigh Dickinson on the 20th, but you have some relatively tough games next, and then coming into the 15th against North Carolina, a game that I will hopefully be at here in Greensboro, where I am from. Or not from, but my adopted home. South Florida, an old AAC foe, is on Saturday at 4:30. Believe that's at Gamble. Let's take a quick check on that. Let's see. I think it says Gamble, but I'm not getting a confirmation there, but that's okay. 4:30 on SNY. Can definitely check that out. Yeah, I think the overall theme of this is this team has all the pieces. We just have to be patient. 100%. Patience with this team, looking ahead to what we have on the schedule and what's in front of us and who we have coming back. AZ and Caroline were both taking some shots before the game, according to Emily Adams. AZ dressed for this game, so that means she's getting a little closer. Just having her as a piece to this team is going to propel this team forward. The freshman. What more can you say about Sarah Strong? She is the quintessential UConn recruit. She can be in the post. She can be a guard if she needs to be. She hit a 3 tonight, I believe. Let me double check that. I feel like I had that. And then I'm just double checking here. What do we got? Sarah. Yeah, she was 1 of 4 from 3. But here's the thing. She missed 4 shots tonight, three of which were from 3. She was 8 of 12 from the floor, super efficient, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 6 steals. And my favorite stat of the night for Sarah Strong, the freshman, in her first college game, 1 turnover. Look at the rest of the younger people on this team. Jana El Alfy in her first game in a year and a half, no disrespect, had a great game. A turnover, had 3 fouls. Morgan Shelley had a turnover. Ali Zabal had a turnover. Q had 2 turnovers. Ice Brady had 3 turnovers. We got to clean that up. Some of the veterans, Paige, Caitlin, Ashlyn. Paige, in particular, no turnovers. Ali Zabal looks like she had 1 turnover. So, honestly, the only person who didn't turn the ball over all night was Paige. I'm sure that doesn't shock anybody. So, I'm looking forward to Saturday, a step up in competition. I like this rotation. One of my favorite things of the night was I watched the game, but listened to the UConn audio. And Bob Joyce, who I find very enjoyable as a play-by-play announcer, shout out to Bob, said, look at all these substitutions. What a luxury it is for UConn to have this many players available. And I want everyone to, before we go tonight, I want everyone to understand how important that statement is. Because if this team is going to compete for a national championship, we're going to have to continue to have that luxury. Paige Bueckers played 24 minutes tonight. That's amazing. You know how nice that is? That they won by 50 points almost, and Paige only took 9 shots. Now, could they have done that last year with 5 or 6 players? against Boston University? Sure. But you can't do that against tougher competition. And I don't think that they're going to, because I think they're going to find this rotation is really tough to handle. What don't they have? If you're in the chat right now and you want to voice your opinion, what doesn't UConn have on this team right now, as long as it stays healthy, to compete for a national championship? I don't think that the answer is anything, but I could be wrong. It's going to be about timing, how they put it together, how they create this rotation. The chemistry develops that between Caitlin and Paige, between Ashlyn and KK, the way they integrate the freshmen is all going to be about them. I don't think there's a single opponent that they have to fear other than themselves, meaning the only team that can beat them is a team they're looking right at in the mirror. South Carolina is good. Notre Dame is good. USC is good. But if this team can play at a level where they can shoot the rock the way they did tonight, turn it over a little less, and keep that inside presence while also returning potentially 2 or 3 other impact players, at least one, as the season goes on, they're going to be damn good and a tough out come tournament time. Take one more quick break, and we'll wrap this up on a opening night for the UConn women coming up after this. What's up, NFL fans? Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's right. FanDuel app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check on the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more in the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get started. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. All right, you're back on Locked On UConn. Ending the show here shortly. Jezere is my only fan of the night making comments, so we're going to keep putting your stuff up there. We have all the right archetypes. We just have to put it all together. I couldn't agree with you more, Miss Matthews. I definitely feel as if this team has all of the pieces it needs to win a national championship. Until I see otherwise against a better competition. Even this Saturday, UCF isn't going to blow anybody's doors off, but they're certainly not Boston University. I would imagine that game right now is like a 20-point spread. This game was like a 44-point spread. So let's check that. We just did a FanDuel promo. Let's see what this betting line is. We have a 99% chance of winning on the matchup predictor, so maybe I'm wrong. But let's double check. I'm curious if there's a line on this game yet. I don't see anything. Let's go to FanDuel.com really quick. Little promo for FanDuel. Let's go. Any thoughts on what the spread will be? We'll use Connecticut because actually we won't. I have a feeling the spread's going to be like 21. Let's just see. What about you, Jezere? You're watching this pretty intently. You commented a few times. What do you think the spread is against USF? 29, 30? I think it's going to be 28. That's my final answer. 28-point spread. Let's double check. But going forward in these games, I think the post presence of Jana is going to help. I think I love the connection between Ice and her. I know it's still working out. Jezere says low 20s. My favorite person on the stream right now. Love it. Let's see. Let's search for it. UConn Women, Connecticut, basketball. I think 2 days, 3 days. Right now it says 26. So you were close. That could change. Subject to change. So 26-point favorite going into the game against USF, an AAC opponent. Should have no problems, but I would imagine they're going to work on some of the sloppiness that happened in that third quarter. I mean, it was 60-13. And I think the second half, I mean, if you just do the simple math, it was, let's take our trusty calculator out. And we had UConn had 26 points in the second half. Not ideal. Yeah, I would. I have a special place in my heart for Ice, Desiree. Like, I think, I don't know what it is. I think she's kind of like the enforcer that we need. And I think she's a tough player. I think she's got a lot of room for improvement. And I think she's also the only person kind of on this team that is kind of a veteran, which is kind of weird to say because she's not that young. She's a redshirt sophomore. So I was the only person I was disappointed in was Caitlin Chen, to be honest with you. I liked her energy, but I thought we were going to get a little more pop from her, and I think that's going to happen later in the year. Those are my thoughts. I mean, you can disagree. Obviously, if you were disappointed in Ice, that's fine. I don't agree, but I understand what you mean. And I think I said I'm probably rating her on a curve a little bit because she was thrown into action last year that I don't think she really would have played at all. I'm sorry for yawning, guys. It's been a long day. I've done 2 shows and now we're back on live. So apologize for that. But yeah, no, I before I go, I will say I think that this team is going to need one of the injured players to put them over the top. I don't think what we have right now is enough for a national championship, but it's close. And it's super early, but that's just my prediction right now. Game 1. I will see you guys on Saturday. Hopefully, I will have the time and the effort to do a live reaction show when it comes to the next game, which is November 10th. That's a Sunday. Should be good to go. If you missed, thanks, Desiree. Do you want to join live right now? You can. I'll let you jump on for a few seconds here. You can have a couple minutes. I'll put that link in the comments again. Last chance before we run. I'll give you a minute. You don't even have to come on audio, on video. We can have you jump on audio just like a radio show or like a Spaces. No big deal. But yeah, I mean, I think I'll be good to jump on live on Sunday. Should be no issue there. Oh, she's at dinner. Well, what are you having for dinner? Something good? Hopefully. All right. Well, listen, guys, have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Both the UConn men and UConn women are 1-0. I love that for this team. I love that for this department. The basketball program is thriving. I'm so blessed to be able to even cover this stuff. So I hope you guys come back, subscribe to the podcast, tell your friends about Locked On UConn. Help us out. Have some people follow the audio version. For whatever reason, that helps us out even more. So audio over video, but definitely subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Follow the audio versions. Love it. Oh, Pat's eye. Oh, look at you having Thai. Oh, God. With some crispy duck curry or red curry. That's happening this weekend. I love it. All right, y'all. Have a good rest of your weekend. This has been another episode of Locked On UConn live edition. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto, asking you to stay locked in, stay connected, make sure that those toughness meters always rise, and make sure that we're supporting our UConn men and women's basketball programs. Stay locked on, guys. We love you. Go Huskies.